Hey, what's up, everyone? So I'm here with my main man, Christian.
Hey, what's up?
Got some light on. So Christian is a genius in the AI space. He's been building his own apps and has his own software products over the last few years. I would say, is on like the cutting edge when it comes to AI infrastructure, building your own systems, your own apps. And um, I brought Christian on. We're gonna do some chats together. They'll be like a little podcast, mini podcast. We're just gonna
Nice.
start real easy and small into this, and we're going to just like review an ad that I found of an AI tool and see what Christian thinks of that. Christian, do you
Great.
want to share anything before we dive in?
Yeah, thanks for having me here. Very exciting times that we're living in right now with what's happening on the cutting edge of AI. And would love to share some of the insight with you that I've discovered. I probably put easily over 10,000 hours into building with AI. About 2 years in development, everything from advanced make automations to building our own SaaS software solutions with AI.
We are there. We
Nice.
are in we're in like a Star Trek movie right now.
Seriously, it's crazy.
Yeah, you'll be creating tools that like spawn me like down there the other side of the garden or something soon. That's definitely something. All right. Let's take a look. So we're gonna do some simple. We haven't never done this before, so we'll see where these videos go. But I found an app, okay, through an Instagram ad,
Okay.
and it solves a problem. So maybe we can start by talking about the business case of this tool, starting from like maybe the problem we're noticing that it solves,
Yep.
and then talking about like the USP that we notice, maybe even the branding that we see with it, like telling the guys who are watching this, guys and gals, like what we think in those areas, and then we can talk about the tech stack behind how this actually might work. So Christian's never seen this before. This is the first time I'm sharing with him. He might have seen it outside of this call, but
Never seen it.
cool. Never seen it. Cool. So this tool is called Fixer.ai. And from what I can tell with this product is that it's an executive assistant, like it says.
Okay.
And what this replaces is someone who's in your Gmail inbox, who's organizing all of the labels and keeping everything organized.
Hmm.
And I believe if we look at the features of what it does, I believe it like emails people back. So let's have a look at what
Nice.
it does. So it says here that when you check your inbox in Gmail or Outlook, every email requiring a response will have a reply and it says pre-drafted. What do you think of that feature?
Yeah, that's really important because you want to have AI mixed with human intelligence. So obviously not completely automating the process, but automating as much of the process that is going to be friction in your day-to-day operations.
Yeah, 100%. I thought it was cool how they did pre-drafted because I was thinking, yeah, if it replies and I don't like it, like I'm gonna be annoyed.
Yep.
And that's why I thought it was quite cool. So they also sort your emails. Oh, it's not going down. That's so weird. Why is it not going down? Maybe I just pull it. Okay, here we go. Sorting emails. Other emails will be organized into actionable labels. So I'm actually speaking to someone on Upwork right now about her actually building her own system for me, but now like that's
Hmm.
kind of redundant because it does it for you,
Hmm.
which is quite cool. Okay, what do you
I'm
think
taking.
about this feature, like adding notes?
Yeah,
Is that too
really,
many
really
features,
powerful.
or do you reckon it's good?
I think it's good, and I want to share some insight here too with AI. If you're watching this, I want to challenge you to think of AI a little bit differently. Think of it in terms of a systematic approach instead of a one-shot approach, right? So, the typical thing for AI usage is like going to ChatGPT or whatever your preferred AI tool is, and you get it to write a post, write an email, blah, 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 blah. But the truth is, what you can do with the right type of sequencing is turn systems driven AI on. We call this structured AI. So this goes into this might be a little bit advanced, but you can look it up on Google, agentic AI, which means think of you have an orchestra and you have the conductor at the top orchestrating the whole system to come together as one, right? And so agentic AI would mean that you had some type of orchestrator at the top managing and overseeing everything that's happening and bringing it all together. And what's really powerful with AI is people didn't want necessarily like it to create content for them, but what they wanted was it to congregate or it to um, curate content for them. So structuring content into formatted ways, making it sound a certain way, chaining it so it's not just one email, but it's a sequence of emails that go out. So this is kind of what they're doing here is like note taking, drafting, organization, different curation types of approaches. This is all systematic thinking. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think that's like a really huge point that you make in our private conversations, which is it's we're moving into the age of systematic thinking.
Yep.
And that is why we're going to have like you mentioned, our own AI apps
Yep.
for our entire use case, and it'll be our own app that we like interface with, not necessarily other people's apps that we then become a member of. Like we're going to have our own app that will have everything that we want and our own preferences
Definitely.
with our workflows ultimately.
Let's riff
Continuous
on
learning.
that for 1 second too. Like
Let's do it.
with what's possible right now with AI, we're moving out of there's an app for that to there's my app for that. Right. So everyone's got their kind of unique approach. And if you're watching this, you're an expert, you're an online business owner, there's a good chance that you are sitting on something that is ultra valuable for your audience that you don't, that you know, but nobody else does. And that's kind of the edge that you have, right? You've been working with clients, you've been working online, you've been doing content, you've found a process that works for you. A lot of the time, if that process is proven, we can then take that process and upload it and have it applied to a systematic way of using AI to where you can get 80% of that process executed without you even in the room. Pretty crazy.
Watch out for your jobs, guys. That's why we're talking about this. That's why we're sharing this. Like I realized I woke up after working in 8 and 9-figure companies and realized that the old way that people were doing consulting and coaching and services, unless you learn these tools or you have these tools that you're using every day, you are going to be, for the word that Christian uses, like left in the dust. You're gonna be dusted, right? Because you literally are already going to be dusted. Like you can see, like these tools are just coming up all the time, and they're helping with like really like everyday tasks that we all do already, and just making them easier. So if you're not using a tool for something now that you're still manually using, like either an assistant that you're paying money to, like these people will become redundant. They just will. And if you learn the system and how to use it, or you have someone help you create those apps, you're going to be ahead of the game before it becomes the norm.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. There's a really, there's kind of the scary thought around AI too. People think that it's going to replace them or replace industries and stuff like that. And I think that's a little far-fetched, but I will tell you that people that are on the cutting edge with AI will replace the people that are not using it right now. So think about, what happened with Toys R Us when, e-commerce came out. It's like, they were kind of like, I'm not really going to go down that road, but then they ended up pretty much going bankrupt. Right. And so they need to adapt to the technology. And that is happening across the board at a very rapid pace. I call this right now what we're in the hyper evolution phase, meaning it's even hard to keep up with. It's moving so quickly.
And the cool thing is, if you're watching this video right now, it means that you're interested in these things, you're thinking about these things, you're considering these things, you're listening to some people who are interested in these things as well. And what I've seen from the inside, looking at CEOs of like big companies online, is that they don't have the time to even think about these things. So if you even have the time right now to think about these things and implement these things, you're going to be of value to lots of business owners, or you're going to create a lot of enterprise value for your own business. Because most companies, they do their own process and they're doing their own thing and they've got it working and it works and they just keep doing it. But because they're stuck in the trenches, they're getting left behind every single day.
This is really important. I want to unpack this a bit too, because we got two kind of categories. You got the guys that are already at the top level, but they don't have the time to focus on this or adapt. They already are set in their ways. They're going to get disrupted because the guys that are adapting, they might be at a lower level, but they're sharpening the axe to something that accelerates the process 10 to 100 fold. So what's going to happen is this. You're going to have this simultaneously. Here's the guys on top. Here's the guys that are right below. This is going to move down. This is going to move up simultaneously, right? And so if you're at this stage right here, you better watch out, right? There's a lot on the line. This stage, if you're stuck in your business and you don't adapt, you have a high chance of you losing what you have right now. And you're just holding on to what you have right now. And this guy's going to come in and go, whoop, right? So, and then the good news for this guy, if you're adapting to these ways, you know, you have a very high chance of taking that top spot because of what you're doing from a broader perspective. So Bruce Lee said, you know, I don't fear the man that practice 10,000 kicks. I fear the man that practice one kick 10,000 times. I want you to think of this. What is the kick that you're practicing? The kick that you're practicing can go like this really quick, right? So if that kick is like technological, AI, systems driven, woof, you could take that spot quickly. But if it's like something around that's not going to move the meter or not going to move the metric very much, you can practice it 10,000 times and it'll only get you to here. Right? So the kick, the context of the kick, when Bruce Lee talks about that, is really, really important.
100%. That's like the kick is representing the vehicle.
Yep.
The different style of kick is what you're kind of referring to. So like, what vehicle are you in? Are you still in the old way? And every day you see these tools coming out, you're feeling like this FOMO almost. Like I get it when I see someone talk about AI, like there's a FOMO that comes in for me, and I'm even like working on things in it. So it's like, are you in the right vehicle? And sometimes you might have to like collapse your business or like pause your business or make sure your current business is handled by your team and then just spend the next 3-4 months working with a team of people who can create something that will give you that advantage in the future. So if you are not doing this right now, that's why I'm spending my time speaking with Christian like every couple of days of the week, like sharing ideas where we're like talking about these things, because this is really where like the industry is going. And we're probably, Christian says like we're 6 months ahead, but also I think we are also 2 years behind as well in a sense, because there are other companies who have already been using this stuff. That big companies, right? Now the smaller companies are going to start to use this stuff, and then it's going to become mainstream where like everyone, your grandma and your granddad, like everyone will be using these things. So the best time to get into something was yesterday or the year before, but
Yeah.
second best time is right now.
Right now. Nice. Love it.
Exactly. So, I mean, should we have a look one last time at the page, and you can tell me what you think of like the branding and like what you think about the whole proposition in terms of price point,
Yeah,
and then we
absolutely.
can maybe leave it there for today so everyone can chew on those thoughts that we've just firebombed at everyone. So, what do you firstly think of the branding, the logo, the color design, the like UI of everything? What do you think of it?
I think it's cool, but here's the thing. In my opinion, branding is secondary. It's going to be, well, it depends on what you label as branding. But the most important thing right now, especially as an expert, is positioning. So positioning is going to be why you are different from everything else in the market and why your way is better. That is the senior level of branding. So like the colors and the text and stuff, yeah, it's cool, it's fluid, it works good. But what is the positioning? I don't necessarily see anything that's like catching me, like grabbing me and pulling me in, saying this
Yeah.
is my position in the market
Yeah.
with
I
this.
couldn't agree more. I think why I drew these things on here is the fact that like this is how they're trying to position. Like the AB is like a good frame to think through positioning, like what we do, what other people do. So they're trying to say that you can get rid of all these other tools and just do it in one. Um,
Yeah,
and that's what like it might not be the strongest positioning, but that is what they're trying to go for when it comes to their positioning. And then the second
yeah,
place, just so
definitely.
everyone can get what Christian is saying here, second place would be like this, your executive assistant. And although I don't think it's super strong, I do think it's super clear to people so they understand. And the word
Yeah, yeah,
executive assistant is fairly fairly high value in business owners' minds. They understand it's not like a VA, it's like an executive assistant, which I think adds more credibility to their positioning frame that they're trying to go for. But like Christian says, there isn't necessarily like I think the unique thing for me was this drafting response and then doing the sorting of the emails because that to me I hadn't seen that's
the
what made me
sorting
think
is cool. The sorting is really cool. That's a cool
that's
feature.
what
Yeah,
made me think wow that's like this note take like to me that discounts that actually lowers the value of this offer because I already have Fathom for that or like people
yeah,
already have other things for that where I think you were talking about systems thinking I think that is one of the reasons why maybe adding too many features can actually
totally,
damage the adoption of the product because it's essentially like doing the same thing as what I already use in my workflow. So I wouldn't use that feature.
totally.
Um, so what about the price point? What are your like? What are your thoughts just around their model that they're using? Looking at
46 per user per month. So yeah, I think it's supply and demand. So it's like how wanted is this type of beats or this type of product in the market? And I think there's two very interesting metrics to look at is like the pain threshold. So how much pain is involved from a scale of 1 to 10.
mm,
If your email is all over the place and you're online, if you're, relying on your email quite a bit, that can be a big problem, right? So that pain point can be quite uh, it'll affect your
painful.
business quite a bit. It'll be painful. And
Yeah,
then the frequency of that. So how often are you looking in your emails? If somebody's like, I'm looking at my emails a lot and they're all over the place, I need an executive assistant to go through it. What's that worth for me? That might be worth 2 or 3,000, 5,000 a month or whatever it is, or a
exactly.
human being to run it, and I can get it for
Yeah,
$46 a month here. That's a really good value. I would even say it's kind of low.
yeah, I
So,
agree.
but it's really comes down to the positioning. I would go in harder on the executive stuff. So I'd go in like, what the typical cost is to run that and what the pain point is if they don't have that in place. And then I'd go into the contrast of what this app can provide. And that would be my positioning with this
Mm,
particular app. It would be more about um, doing things that the executive assistant would do on a daily basis, whether they show up or not, compared to here's an email tool that would sort through your emails or write notes or,
100%,
you know,
100%. I agree. That's exactly what I thought because I'm thinking like when I hire an executive assistant, they're going to cost at least 2, 3 grand a month if you get
mhm.
someone from Upwork from a country, and 46 to me is like, whoa, that is good. The one thing I think they're doing that isn't so great is they don't have a freemium option. They have a free
Mhm.
trial, which is cool. But I would maybe even offer like one standard tier that's like completely for free. That comes back to the whole concept of bid scaling, which is the
Yeah.
guys who scaled LinkedIn. They wrote that book and they talk about like a freemium model. Not every software product has that. And by no means am I like an expert at software products and their models, but I would maybe add that into this to make it a little bit less friction. So is the whole point
I'll give
to
you
get
some
some people
insight
in.
there. So we did some testing around that with Mass. We had a free sort of section of mass for a while. It comes with a cost. And what we found is this: people don't want the software, they want the result of the software. So in other words, when they were coming into mass, they wanted to fine tune their copywriting. They wanted to articulate some of the research ideas. Well, what we did is we used mass to do research for a specific type of person, to articulate some copywriting for a specific type of person. And we said, here's the result. By the way, if you want to do this with anything, here's our tool. So because there was friction around them going through a sign up process, logging into the tool. And then what happened was they were like, oh, this is free. Oh, it's probably not valuable. Oh, I have to log in and do this and do that to get the result. And we said, no, let's bypass that. Let's give them the result. Here's the research on this audience. By the way, we use mass to do this, and you can do it for any audience that you like.
Interesting. I like that. There's another way you can do it, guys. Give it a test if you haven't done that already.
Yeah, definitely.
Why don't you share like any final words here, Christian, for our first like YouTube here that we've done together? Any final thoughts about what people should be thinking about as they go into the next week that they can use to get ahead and start learning more about what we're talking about?
Yeah. So what AI does, so AI can be used for these purposes too. For instance, when I rapidly accelerated my ability to code, I'm not a developer, but I learned how to build my own apps with AI in a fraction of the time that it would normally take to build apps. And that way I can build my own apps, and George and I can build apps together, so on and so forth, for anything that I needed. I could have went through 2 years of development. I could have hired a coach. I could have done this, done that. But what I did was I used AI to rapidly accelerate my implementation. Meaning I got the information as if kind of like it was in a two-way course where it's like giving me the steps on what to do. I go and act those steps out, and I feed it back into the AI to iterate where the bottlenecks were. Right? You could do this. You could do this with chat. You can do this with Claude. But what I'm saying is, if you're an expert, if you are a online entrepreneur, and you have a course out there or you have a program out there, you can use this with your clients to accelerate their results tenfold in a fraction of the time. So you take your IP, load it on top of some type of AI tool or AI process. Do not recommend doing this with ChatGPT or Claude or any of those tools. Here's why. You're literally outsourcing your work to them. So once they understand the process, they go directly to Chat or Claude and use it for that. But if you had your own tool, your own process that was wrapped with your brand, your positioning, your ideas, now your business just becomes ultra valuable. Right? And now it becomes ultra valuable because you've accelerated the implementation, the action steps through AI, and you give your people support as the expert or the author or whatever it is for that particular IP. So the thinking goes from how do I use AI to do some process or whatever it is, to how do I get AI to increase my implementation? My implementation, not AI's implementation. What the shift in thinking is, how do I accelerate or amplify my process through AI as opposed to replace it with AI? Right? So subtle shift in thinking.
Yeah, to just drive that point home, it's like if your grandma makes a really special pie and it only tastes like your grandma's pie, and you know that you can't get it from anywhere else apart from your grandma, that is her intellectual property. That is a secret sauce to like make you guys visualize what we're talking about here. And whatever you're doing in your business, if it's a process, if it's a way you coach, if it's a way that you deliver whatever you do, there's things about what you do that is proprietary to you. And if you don't, you have to create a proprietary system if you want to get anywhere in this world. And what AI can do is you can put that proprietary system into a mechanism that people can understand, a UI that people can use, so that your IP is now productized in a scalable fashion. So grandma's pies can be eaten by everyone around the world, no matter if grandma died 50 years ago.
Exactly.
That's the idea that we're trying to talk about.
But it's also not given to another resource like ChatGPT or Claude or any of those, right? Where somebody can just go and get it. You are the entry point to that IP. You need to wrap your ideas with, it could be a software tool, it could be a system, it could be a platform like a community or something like that, or a very specific way that you do courses or some type of training, but it's your way of doing it, which is basically a boutique version of your expertise, right? So you are the value, but you're layering your value with AI that increases your value, not the AI's value.
Gone are the days of constant hustle for the rest of your entire life. And if you stop, everything stops, right? Gone are those days,
Yep.
because now you have something that's driven by machines and intelligence that can actually help you. And that's why I think we're entering an age of abundance on a completely different level, abundance of time, abundance of income and money, like to those who actually do this and actually get ahead. Because there's a lot of freedom that can come from these systems. This is what everyone's been waiting for. This is why business was really, really difficult. It's going to be challenging if you don't get ahead of this, but it's going to be a lot easier as well at the same time. I mean, I'm sure all of you can attest to how much easier your workflows are now that you've got AI.
Yeah, definitely.
It is easier. Cool. I think we'll leave it there for now.
Yeah, that's great.
I hope you guys have enjoyed this, and we'll speak to you on another session at some point.